That's crispy.
What's going on, everybody? It's friend and neighbor collector here, coming at you with another review. This is something a little different. I really wanted to show off a project that I finally finished, and we're going to take a look at the custom Marvel Legends style Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil 2 figure that I actually finished. I did this all myself, and I rarely make customs, but sometimes when I have an idea in my head, I just want to go ahead and see how it works out. And it sounded really good on paper, and seeing it now in person just makes me realize how happy I am with how it came out. And you know, definitely it took me about a week to finish him. It took me about a day to paint everything, but to get all the parts and the base body it took about a week as well. So it was all a process, making everything and putting everything together. And I wanted just to go through everything that I did in case anyone's curious in how I made him. The base figure that he's on is the Punisher exclusive Marvel Legends. And in the beginning, when I was looking for a base for the figure, I was trying to find like a military-esque body, something that had boots, pants, and everything like that. And since Leon is a police officer, I thought it would be best to get the Punisher Walmart exclusive body, because he already had this belt here, and he already had the holster was actually on the other side. The holster that you see here, I actually glued on. It came from the NECA Leon, and that's the other thing too. Everything else on the figure besides the base body is from the NECA Leon, which is basically a statue, but I was able to find him for cheap on eBay, and I pretty much scrapped a bunch of parts from that figure, including the head and a bunch of other things that I'll go through later, and I put them on this figure. And everything else is all Punisher and Leon, like I said. And now let's just go through the top of the figure so I can show you the head. Like I said, it's from the NECA Leon. I didn't really change much. All I did was paint his hair a little more brown, a little more darker brown. It was like a blondish brown, but I just wanted to have a clearer color, so I painted that. Didn't do anything to the face. The face was perfect. And then right here, his vest. As you can tell, this is a little reminiscent of the classic version and a mix with the modded version. I tried to do my best to incorporate both, but it's mainly the classic version. As you can see, it got the star right here. The only thing I'm missing is the RPD right here, but there wasn't enough room to put that on, so I'm gonna leave it off. But the top piece right here of the vest and these pieces right here, I cut these pieces off of the NECA Leon, and I glued them on here to make it so he still has that same design from the classic suit. The knife is also from the NECA Leon. The knife comes out just fine, so I wanted to keep everything the same how it was. The RPD that you see here and these pieces are also from the NECA Leon. I had to cut them off with an X-Acto knife. It was really hard to do, but I did it, and I almost cut myself. But it was really hard to cut those pieces off, but I actually did it because I didn't want to have to paint RPD on the vest. I know that painting letters is just not my thing, and that's why it kind of looks a little bit jagged, but it works, and I'm happy with how it is. And I didn't want to glue the whole piece on, So if you can see, it's two separate pieces, so he can still have that articulation. And I did hollow out the ab right here to make it so that he can move more, even with these pieces on here. So I hollowed out that, and I also cut, we're gonna get onto the other parts of the figure here. As you can see, he's got his RPD patch right here on both sides. I cut that off of the NECA Leon as well. Also this, I also cut that off. So everything I kind of just scrapped together. The arm pads right here that you see here are also from the NECA Leon. I cut those off and attached them to the arm. And now what's great about the Punisher Walmart exclusive Marvel Legends is that it came with this police belt. But as you can tell, I added some pouches on here. This pouch, the flashlight, the mag pouch is here, and then these two pouches were not on there before. But it's a great base for this figure if you're trying to make like this type of character, and it does come off, and it will just pop back in there. There's a peg, so it's a great base for this guy. I probably might buy another one to do a remake version if I can get another NECA Leon, but like I said, it's hard to find that one. Usually that one goes for about 80 bucks, 90 bucks, but I was able to get it for 30 bucks because it was broken. Didn't care that it was broken because I was going to scrap it for parts. But what's cool about it that I got the NECA Leon is that it came with all of his weapons from the original figure. So I got his gun, his shotgun, and then I have his grenades here, his flashbangs, and his first aid spray, and then of course his pistol right here, and that can holster into the holster that came from the NECA figure. I made sure to keep that, and I glued it onto this leg pouch that was on this leg. And in the beginning of the process of making this figure, I pretty much had to heat up the figure, and I took all the pieces off. So everything that you see here, I took them all off. I took off the arms, the head, the torso. I even took off the joints here, and I painted them separately, and then I primed them all separately and put them all together at the end, just to make sure that the figures don't scratch the paint off when I pose them. I didn't want to get a lot of paint rub. And I even carved here some more room so that way when he moves his legs, he won't scratch the paint. I think it's important to prime the figure before you make anything, because it's gonna scratch it if you don't. Shout out to Spoon Dude on Instagram for pointing me out to this primer here. This is what I used to prime it. It's a little glossy looking on the figure, if you can tell. The paint that I used was matte black and blue, but when I primed it, it looks a little shiny. I tried to be a little stingy with it, but it still ended up coming out a little glossy, but I don't really mind it. It still looks good. It's not as glossy as I thought it was going to look. As long as the paint doesn't chip off, then I'm okay with that. And then, you know, I just went and painted blue here. I painted the blue here. I painted black over here. The belt was already black, so I painted that just as an added finish. I painted this gray. I realized I should have painted this and this gray, but I'm gonna leave it like it is. I think it looks okay. The hands are from the NECA Leon, and I cut a piece off of the Punisher's hands and glued it onto this so he can still have those joints and he can pose it around still. Like I said, all the articulation is still there. I took off all the pieces to paint them to make sure that the paints didn't scratch off. I wanted to make sure everything was fully painted. I even painted a Punisher's gun all black, so he can pretty much hold everything. And yeah, I just wanted to have a 1/12 scale Leon figure because mostly I have 1/6 scale figures, and just Marvel Legends figures in general have great articulation, and I think that putting this figure together on Marvel Legends body was the best idea to do so he can have the most movement as possible. and he moves pretty well with this body. Like I said, it's on a Marvel Legends Punisher body, so you can make him do a lot of cool things. More than the NECA would be able to do. And just really quick for a quick size comparison, as you can see, he's next to the Marvel Legends Scarlet Spider, and he's next to the McFarlane Spider-Man Classics. He's about the same size as Marvel Legend. A little taller because of his head. His head's a little big, but that's pretty much how he sizes up to other figures. One thing I forgot to mention also, I used Vallejo acrylics to paint this. I use a flat black and a flat blue. I think Vallejo is a great company for paints, especially for model kits. I used to use testers a lot, but it's hard to get the acrylic ones because usually they have enamel at the stores, and enamel is not my preferred paint to use because it smells and it's oil based. So I like acrylics more, and I think it came out pretty good. If you're gonna make a custom, take your time on it, don't rush it. Make sure you have all the right supplies, because that's what I did. Usually I like to rush things because I just want to get it done. But I took my time with this guy and it really paid off. And then he can still even hold all his other accessories like the first aid spray. Like so. I can even try to fix these onto the belt, but I'm not going to do that right now. But that's pretty much what I did for the whole figure. Combination of Punisher and NECA Leon. If you want to go ahead and do your own figure, those are what you need. And that's pretty much it. I really wish that one day maybe we'll get some Resident Evil official figures. One company that I think might be able to do them is McFarlane. They seem to have a lot of licenses to do it, and their figures have been looking good so far. I like the My Hero Academia figures, so maybe they can take a knack at Resident Evil. They like to do video game figures with Fortnite, so I think that would be a good move. I might try to make Ada Wong or Claire. I'll just have to find a good base for it. But finding the right base on a Marvel Legends figure is a little difficult, especially if you're not trying to break the bank. The Punisher Marvel Legends that I used for this wasn't that expensive. I found them for like 18 bucks on Mercari. So all in all, like, it wasn't that expensive to finish this guy. But he can pose everywhere. His head can move up and down like nothing. And I also painted his neck too, and as you can see, the paint's not chipping there. He can move his legs pretty much everywhere. And I like this figure too because it has boots on there already, kind of like military police boots. So I didn't have to do much. I wanted to make this figure without having to sculpt anything. I haven't tried sculpting yet. I know a lot of people like to use Avs epoxy. I was actually originally going to use Shang-Chi's head sculpt and sculpt hair on it, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't think I was ready for it yet. But having the figure already, the NECA figure, really helped out because a lot of the parts actually came from that. And the head is just what tops it off. I think the NECA head, although it may be a dated figure, it looks like he kind of has eyeshadow on, but I think it's a still decent head sculpt for what it is. There's not many Leon figures out there, but for what it is, it looks good. I like how they sculpted the hair, and I just added, like I said, a little more brown paint to make it look a little cleaner, because I think before the figure was in a little more bad shape. The hair was kind of chipping off, but the paint, putting it on there, made it look really good. So yeah, that's gonna be it for my review, guys. If you guys have any other questions about how I did this custom, how you can do your own custom, and just any other review requests, let me know in the comments below. See you in my next video.